So we're heading out of Marseilles. Half an hour late. There's more of up and downs handiwork with our graffiti. There's a half hour delay, and also there's an incident with the driver getting attacked by some fucking lunatic coming from this bus goes from Marseille to Venice. Some guy was very unhappy about something, and he got hauled down with security, like, but whether they got hauled to the police I don't know, but so that held us back. I think it's the heat, it's 25 degrees Celsius currently, but we're on the A7 heading east towards Cannes, the Cote d'Azur. We're heading to Nice. It's the first time on the Flixbus I've had to take my rucksack off and put it in the cargo deck below. Anyway, I'm not going to film bushes. I think you've all seen bushes before. And it's a busy bus. But, yeah, if you're planning to come to Marseille, bring a scrubbing brush with you and some paint thinner for the graffiti. So I'm whizzing by, there's a lot of poplar trees which are very popular in France, and of course the vineyards. It's 25 degrees according to temperature control in the bus side. But about an hour from Nice, a little less from Cannes. I can't really open the curtains because other passengers obviously want to be sheltered from the baking sun. Me likewise. But I have a tendency of switching the camera on when we reach industrial units and underpasses of roadways and very bland vegetation on the sides of the road. So although I have a lot of direction in my movies, sometimes the director can hit a brick wall. No pun intended, of course. But I just thought I'd see some of the rolling countryside as we approach, well, we are in Provence, and of course up and down was spent a lot of time fleeting between Avignon, Nice, Cannes itself and Toulon. I think in 3 to 4 years that she was based in France, in total that is, because obviously she was over in Bratislava for a little while and all manner of places. And Ali, she wrote that, she told me to look out for it if I'm passing. She wrote Ali, but she didn't tell me why she wrote it. I think it's something to do with A for Andrew. Andrew loses everything. It's 111 miles to Cannes, 111, and it's 136 kilometers, sorry, to Nice. So I don't think we're travelling at 136 kilometers an hour on this bus, but we're certainly doing it at about 100. Look at the beautiful vineyards, eh? I'll have to think of that abbreviation. It's something Andrew loses everything. One correction from earlier. I was thinking about that time in Marseille in 1989. I flew from London to Paris on a jumbo jet. They gave us a jumbo jet because it was a London, Paris, New York British Airways flight. So it was very, very exciting. And but from Paris, from Charles de Gaulle Airport, I moved into Paris and picked up a SNCF train to Marseille. Because I remember getting whizzing down there in 2 hours. Was it 2 hours 20 minutes or something crazy? One of those high-speed trains. But on the return from getting told I couldn't join the French Foreign Legion, I was sorry about the vegetation. But when they said I couldn't join the French Foreign Legion, I was then back to the airport at Marseille. And I can recall leaving my tickets, my return tickets from Paris to London on the desk. And so therefore I flew from Marseille to Paris, and then I had to buy an additional ticket because they wouldn't allow me to board the aircraft without a valid ticket. So that was the journey from Marseille back to London. And I suppose to keep this little excerpt interesting, I might just put on some other footage rather than allow you to stare endlessly at trees and shrubs and vegetation and concrete. I'll see how things work out, but this is very far south in France now. We are certainly approaching the Cote d'Azur, and up and down when she had well, this is during more fortunate times. She used to visit a chateau not far from Nice. This is before she joined the convent, of course. She was a frequent flyer to France and also to Italy, to Cortina for the winter skiing seasons. And she spent many happy days in St. Moritz in Switzerland. I'm sure I mentioned this before. Very keen skier. A very competent skier, although the situation regarding her competency has some question marks, because she told me herself that she would be able to ski for about 10 meters and she would be then upside down. I didn't quite grasp what she meant. I thought she was doing some sort of acrobatics with the skis on the piste, but apparently this was on the flat and she kept falling down. Therefore she was christened the name Up and Down from a very early part of her life in regards to her skiing abilities, as well as her moods and other factors relating to up and down, including her share values, which are never really up. They're more often down, or she loses all her capital and assets by buying silly shares, which I told her repeatedly not to do. I shall pick you up in the next 25 minutes as we approach Cannes, because I'm quite sure if I was looking at this type of vegetation, I would get travel sick. Okay, so the landscape's changing quite a wee bit again. There we are, Nice 76, Cannes 51, that's kilometres. There's a branch off of Saint-Tropez shortly. I've never been to Saint-Tropez. Up and Down tells me it's fantastic there. She spent a lot of holidays in Saint-Tropez with people, family, relatives and stuff, and another chateau they had there. This was certainly the furthest extremities of southeastern France. We're a long way to the Italian border, which we have to cross, and I mean, I'm still about 4 or 5 5 hours from my destination in Genoa. It's a long way. It's a long way for me. It looks okay on the map, but I mean, this is an express highway we're on, and they're not hanging about. But I do recommend, if you're travelling anywhere in Europe, jump yourself on a Flixbus. They're absolutely amazing. And they text you if there's any delays, which they did this morning, because there's an 18-minute delay, plus that French chap who well, he got very upset about something. I don't know what it was. The lands that these are very reminiscent of. I don't know if you've ever seen The French Connection with Gene Hackman. It's an early 1970s movie. Quite a cult movie, actually. It's two, the French one and French 2. I remember reading the book, The French Connection. I think I was harking on about something about think of a book and it will appear. So my book for you, if you can't think of anything, is why don't you consider Rififi. That's Rififi in New York. I read that book. I think it was, I'd read Day of the Jackal, The French Connection, and Rififi in New York, all within the space of a week or something, in 2 weeks. And when I was in my reading mood, this is a long time ago, I have to say, but Rififi in New York, if you think about that book, it's about breaking into and stealing diamonds through the sewer system. It's a true story. But if you think of Rififi in New York, and that book will probably come to your possession. If you don't want to use that book, use one of your own. So I'll put camera off just now, because we're in the what I have noticed actually is the number of places, residential places, which have swimming pools. Again, we're coming through a bit of an industrial part. I know that Dennis Hopper's no longer with us, but I have been on a bus with him a couple of times. He's a crazy kind of bastard, isn't he? Always got something up his sleeve, and yeah, I was travelling one time on a stagecoach bus between Perth and Mevin, and Dennis Hopper got on, and well, the bus was travelling at excessive speed, I can tell you that much. But it was a bit of a carry-on actually. I think he had a ransom or something. I don't know what the story was, but I think he was standing up most of the time and pretending he had some explosives on him, you know. But yeah, I think he passed away, Dennis Hopper. He's a great actor, I must say. Okay, so the Nice is over there. Not nice. Well, it is nice, but you know what I mean. Don't pronounce it as nice. Oh dear, director's got the blockages on again. Give me a second. So this is very much the French Riviera that Up and Down talked so fondly about. That's the signs from Monaco. We're just approaching Nice centre. Well, very clean in comparison with the very horrid looking Marseilles. So this is the Cote d'Azur, and it's it's notched back a couple of degrees at 24 degrees, I think it is now. Nice and cool in here, waiting up the air conditioning. And we shall have a couple of minutes before we arrive at the bus station, I think. But as you can see, it's a rather pleasant place to live, is Nice. I don't think I'd like to live here. I'd rather live near Grenoble or something of that nature, or even I quite like Nîmes. I think Nîmes are, although in saying so, we all like variety in life, don't we? And I must say, it's different types of French people in this part of the world compared with the north, I like to believe. And as we're speeding through to the bus halt, the Mediterranean should be coming into view very shortly, actually. I can see it from when I put my head above camera. Speeding towards the bus stop, and you will not be surprised when I tell you that the time is just approaching 10 minutes to 2, because everything I do is at 10 minutes to 2, and if I need proof, I'll ask the gentleman next to me, Monsieur, may I have a look at your watch to tell me it is this time? Let us stop. He's on the phone just now, so let us wait a moment. This is the time. Monsieur, is this the right time? This is the right time? 13:49. Merci. So we are now fast approaching central Nice, and the time is 10 minutes to 2, so the gentleman kindly let you see the time from his mobile phone. Not that I was in any question in regards to my own time on my wristwatch, but just in case you thought that I was fucking you around again by playing kiddie-ons with my watch piece, which is not the case. It is always 10 to 2. So I'm approaching Nice Central Railway Station, and some of these properties over there are worth absolutely millions of pounds. Serious money for these properties. The Cote, and I'm trying to work out which one was Up and Down's property. It was, she did point it out one time on a photograph, and she said, when you arrive in Nice, please look out for my house. And I said, well, I'm not sure if I'll be able to just see it just like that, but she said it had cream coloured curtains, drapes as she called them. Cream coloured drapes. So this is the famous Nice tunnel. A lot more tunnels as you get towards the Alps, and the Mont Blanc tunnel. I'm hoping to get there maybe on Tuesday. I'll see what happens. I don't know if I've got time to do it, but I've done it from the eastern side to Chamonix, but I've been right up to the tunnel, but not coming from Turin or Milan to do it from the Did I say these? I've done it from the west side, I should say, from Geneva to Chamonix, but I've not done it from Turin or Milan from the east. But I have been at the foot of the